In recent years, we've been told a lot about climate change. And for anybody that is concerned about whether it be true or not, yes, the climate changes, and it has been doing so for hundreds and thousands of years. There is evidence that at between 1200 BC and 1150 BC, a massive climate change occurred. The evidence of the area so affected is Eastern Europe, all of Asia right through to Afghanistan and Egypt. This is not the full extent of the area, but is the known area that we know that there was huge climatic change events that occurred. We can see that through various writings and suggestions, and from digs, and from the change of how all things happen with the governments of that time. This was at the end of what's called the Bronze Age, or near to the end of the Bronze Age. We have seen climate change a lot since then. We have seen how Europe is frozen and how it is not anymore. We've seen the Thames freeze. About 200 years ago, a concert was held on the Thames, on the frozen ice. We can see the evidence of climate change. But just because we can see the evidence of the climate changing does not necessarily mean that we know the reason why. Let's assume for a moment that it is correct that the carbon pollution, the use of human activity and the carbon pollution that happens from that, is actually a major cause of climate change as it is today. Please tell me, how can placing a tax on carbon do anything about it? We have a Labor government that is fully committed to climate change in Queensland. And yet, that same government is permitting the opening up of a massive, huge coal reserve, which that coal will eventually be burnt and which will produce more carbon dioxide. And if perchance that is the vehicle by which climate change occurs, surely we're going to be into catastrophic future if that be correct. But obviously one part of government policy in the Queensland government area does not agree with the rest. We do not see federally the Labor government, which actually seems to fully support climate change and the carbon pollution which is supposed to be its cause. We don't see the Labor opposition jumping up and down and simply saying, hey, this isn't right. Let's not do that. We don't see the Labor government calling on the federal government to not permit the increased export rights for the coal. We don't see that at all. Not at all. You see, there is a problem in this whole equation. The science does not demonstrate what is said. Note, what is said is that 97% of science believe that human involvement is having some effect on climate change. The important critical things are the belief and also the effect. How many many say that humans have a catastrophic effect, a major effect? We don't know. When we look at the 97% of the scientists, when we try and find out the more detail of that, it is difficult. But what is important, what is most important, we need to understand. No plants will survive in this planet without carbon dioxide. And if you want plants to grow more rapidly, you would pump into the soil carbon dioxide to cause massive growth. Does it mean that we should go and pollute all we like? No, it doesn't. Not at all. Pollution is something that is vitally important that we need to understand. We live in the environment in which we live, which is pretty obvious. If we pollute that environment, we live within our pollution. The very same reason why we go to a toilet in a secluded place in the house or in wherever other buildings are. We actually do what we need to do there. We clean ourselves as we leave by washing our hands because we want to leave the garbage where the garbage should be so that we can live in a cleaner world. So when it comes right across the board upon all the things that we think, do and say, it is far better that we pollute as little as possible. But I go one step further. It is far better we consume as little as possible. Because at the end of the day is this. There will be people following after us unless we choose to destroy this earth now. There will be people coming after us. And if we care for the next generation and the generation after that, and the generation after that, and so on, we will leave the place clean for them. There are people who are very sloppy in life. They will stay at a place and trash the joint before they leave. But most of us, when we go to a place to stay temporarily and we've moved on to another place, we try and leave the place clean for the next people so they don't have to clean up our mess. In the environment area, let us do the same. We can, we should, and we must. As to climate change, there is much that we can't stop. But let us understand, because it happens, doesn't mean we always know the why. It just means that we can observe the happening. Thank you. I'm Milton Kane, Christian Democratic Party.